Yeah, I mean, I always know what I get from Michigan State players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Trey Wayans, to me, is a press corner. He's not afraid. He's used to man coverage. He tackles. He's well coached. He's a first-round press corner. He could be the first corner off the board. I really like him.
From a technique standpoint, he's really good. I think he's well coached. I look at him and I see a guy who doesn't have elite talent, but he has very good talent, and I think he gets the most out of it. To me, you watch him from his instincts, his ability to use his long arms and his technique. I appreciate what he does on tape.
Well, I think one of the things you have to like is that he played in the system he was in, which is going to challenge him as a defensive back. You know, you look at what he was asked to do. It's different than some of the other places where guys can kind of live off reputation. I think with him, you know, he had to be a playmaker. Ultimately, I also like the idea that he went up in practice against one of the probably top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the whole country every day. And I think that helps him going forward. I mean, he's a longer guy. I mean, there's some cornerbacks here that don't have the same physical frame to work with. And I think ultimately when you have a lot of big receivers, I think that plays well for him.
This is a running back group that I thought as a whole struggled, and a lot of times were good, but not as good as you would expect. Jeremy Langford was the one guy I thought who ran as well, or maybe even better than you expected. Ran in the 4.4s, had a great 10-yard split. His overall workout was really good, and you see that explosiveness on tape. He's someone who's grown on me. The more I watch of him, the more I appreciate. He doesn't lose yards. He's always falling forward at the end of runs. He can catch the ball. I think that he's maybe an underrated prospect at this point, and he's starting to move up. And to me, early in day 3, he could wind up being a steal in this class.
I like the consistency. I feel like, you know, everybody has to have 2 running backs in a system in the NFL, and I think he's a guy who can be that. He's a guy that played in an offense where he had to be. It wasn't a wide open spread offense where the transition and the projection was going to have to be made. There's a lot of things he already knows. And I think so that's a positive. I think you see a physically tough kid. I mean, he had it back-to-back, 2 really good years. And you're right, he did get lost a little bit in the shuffle because Melvin Gordon put up ridiculous numbers. You know, you're getting some steals in the NFL from running backs who a lot of people don't know that much about outside of the Midwest, who end up being really productive players.
But what do they know about Curtis Drummond? He's got a nose for the football in terms of the safety position and getting interceptions, and I think he runs a lot better than what people are going to anticipate, and he's a big hitter. He's not known in terms of, say, the Landon Collins of Alabama that are known as the big hitters. I think that's what when you look at Drummond, how he's going to surprise in the NFL. He's a big hitter, and you need those type of safeties that really are intimidators in the National Football League. So again, I think I see Drummond as a middle rounder, a mid to late rounder, but I think he'll continue to impress, again, because Michigan State runs the pro-style defense that all NFL teams are looking for. When you look at Twan Jones, the linebacker, I think, again, he's going to be a core special teams player in the National Football League and work his way into being, a third down linebacker where he can use his speed to cover guys in the NFL.
This league this year had by far the best collection of running backs in the country. And you add to that what they played in the non-conference where Oregon had, a couple of stud running backs. I think that competition level, that they are a physical team and they prided themselves in being physical. I mean, I think, we see it where you look at guys who are like, yeah, they were good players, but they may not have had like star names at Michigan State, and then you see them go on to the NFL. And you see a lot of guys there who are thriving, and I think that's, it's bad to be called a system quarterback. I don't think it's bad to be called a system defensive guy, and that's what I think you see, especially with the guys in the back 7 at Michigan State.
In terms of the wide receiver group, I think Tony Lippett, he had a slower 40 time than what people expected, but I think he offers versatility. I think Tony Lippett may be looked as a cornerback by a lot of teams here in the NFL that are at the Combine. And then Keith Mumphrey is a bigger, physical receiver that I think really is going to garner some attention in terms of, 1, how he played in the East-West Shrine game, and 2, in terms of his speed. He busted a 4.52 in terms of his 40, so I think he's a guy who could sneak in terms of the later rounds.